Oh, so nice. I have a cold brew tonight, as well as a cold open. Didn't have enough time to plan out an actual edited, pre-filmed intro, so we're just going to roll with it. So welcome to Coffee on Korriban. Tonight we are going to talk about Bo Katan. Is she the Mandalorian's chosen one? It seems that way after this episode, this last one we got, where the armorer told her, you walk both worlds. You have been a child of the Watch. You've been in our group, our cult, so to speak. And also you have been a prior regent of Mandalore, so you can use that to reunite Mandalore. It was kind of the theme of this episode. We have something greater that we can rally around other than just protecting our own lives. And that was a really cool message in that episode. We're going to talk about that, probably a little bit of a shorter show tonight, but also Bo Katan, more specifically the actress that plays her, is getting replaced. We're going to talk about that in our news segment, as well as in our other news segment, because we kind of have two different news segments, I guess, that are very similarly named. I don't exactly know what I was thinking there. But in that segment, leaked audio from 2019 between Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas. Very important breaking news that I happened to dig up for you guys tonight. I hope you're going to enjoy that. Let's catch up on some comments, and then I'll bring in my guest. Charlie, here is a sip for you. Apollo 12, here's a sip for you. Aiden S, here's a sip for you, good sir. The armor is wholesome this season. I completely agree. It's a very nice change of pace. I really like overall what they are doing with the character development this season. Bo Katan, we saw how she was really dejected at the beginning of the season. She's come around, and she's also different than we saw last season. Very, very interesting. JD636, here's a sip for you. Dale Erdman, here is a sip for you. So before I bring in my guest, let me just pose the question to you. What do you rate this last episode out of 10? For me, 7.5. Wasn't super groundbreaking, but it was a very fun time. I'm not a fan of mossy Davy Jones, but that's beside the point. So I'm going to bring in my guest here. I don't have a stinger for you. Here's Matt Cave roaring, I guess.
That was so random then, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hello there, everyone.
I would love to have an individual stinger for each individual guest, but that would be a lot of stingers because I do have a lot of people on.
Yeah, and to be fair, I'm not on very often at all.
That is true. And I actually didn't even remember having you on previously, but you did remind me. You popped on during that community stream. And while I'm thinking about it, let me share your channel because you're coming up on 500, I see.
Yeah, pretty close now.
That is awesome. Preemptive congratulations for you.
Thank you.
On that. And everyone watching right now, if you want to do me a favor, and Mr. Aussie Star Wars Nerd, if you want to give him your subscription, that would be amazing. I would appreciate it. I'm sure he would as well. Let's get him closer to that 500 mark. Oscar, here's a sip for you. Yeah, so this is a common theme, real quick, before I get your thoughts, Aussie. Aiden S says he hasn't seen it, doesn't care about spoilers. There's not a whole lot to spoil in this episode. There wasn't anything, like I said in the intro, groundbreaking. But I have heard that from several other people that they just haven't seen this episode yet. I myself didn't see it until last night, didn't even film a reaction to it, so sorry if you guys were waiting on that. Yeah, Matt Cave is a Wookiee. Yeah, so Ozzy, what would you rate this last episode out of 10?
I've been watching all of them like the second they release, and I think probably I'm with you on the 7.5 out of 10. Nothing too extreme, but it was definitely one of the better ones.
Yeah.
There was...
So there wasn't anything offensive of it, and I hope people don't get caught off guard by my 7.5. I did not dislike this episode. It just wasn't it didn't stand out. There was nothing special about this episode. Anything stands out for you in this? Any special moments, things that you really want to touch on?
Not too much. I mean, the armorer sort of changed quite a bit that episode, just with
It's true.
Bo Katan, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be the main thing.
it did seem like a very marked shift in her perception, specifically about the mythosaur, because it almost seems like she just wrote it off in the previous episode. Like, oh yeah, we see lots of different things. That walking the way of the Mandalore, you'll see things, and kind of just casting that to the side. In this episode, she really wanted that one-on-one with Bo Katan, saying, "This is big news. I have never seen a Mandalore. I thought they were extinct. I was told they were all extinct." So very different. You're absolutely correct in how her character is approaching all of this. Aiden says, "This is the least excited I've been about a Mando season. It's just not doing it for me. The episodes are just mediocre. I don't hate it, but I'm not in love." And I think that's probably just because it's all over the place. There's cool moments, really cool scenes, and cool cameos as we saw last week. But nothing that's really grabbing us all the way in. I'm sure if Father Time were able to be here, he would say the same thing. There's just nothing that's really hooking him, and we're coming up on the end of the season, which is kind of shocking. We have, 3 more episodes?
Yeah, it's gone really quickly.
Yeah, which basically we have less than 48 hours until the next episode, about 28 hours or so. And then there's only 2 episodes after that. So we're coming up on the end already, and it does seem like we're moving into the realm of retaking Mandalore, setting up their people once again. But how can you really do that in 3 episodes?
Yeah, I think it's sort of big change in pace after that Coruscant episode with Pershings, which I didn't mind, but they're gonna have to speed things up quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. And so that episode was great for me. I think that's my favorite episode of the season so far, which I know a lot of people hated it, just because of the feeling it gave me. But for the storyline of this season, it didn't really help. It may pay off as we see the officer lady in this episode, but it hasn't connected just yet. So because it's a shorter show, we're going to jump into our news segment, and then we're going to talk about Bo Katan. So where is my stinger for the news from the stars?
From the farthest corners of the galaxy and every channel in the holonet, we bring you news from the stars.
So the first news from the stars is Disney has actually released the poster for their revamping of a series that we all are enjoying. So I know The Mandalorian Season 3 is not quite done yet. When Season 4 supposedly is going to be in the works, but they have started work, Disney has, on the first season of The Trans-DeLorean. Wait a minute. That's... I don't know if that's what I was trying to do. Anyway, this article was recommended to me by Google. It comes to us once again from Inside the Magic. It's titled, Katie Sackhoff Speaks Out on Being Replaced. And so I'm thinking, wait a minute. She's being replaced by whom? This is news to me. Maybe this is something very interesting that I want to share with everyone watching this stream. So it begins. And you guys know Inside the Magic, so you probably have an idea of what to expect. But it starts off, the star has played Bo Katan Kryze across Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and now The Mandalorian. Her performance as the strong-willed Mandalorian warrior and the one-time regent is irreplaceable, with Sackhoff lending her trademark combination of stoicism and warmth to the role from the very start. But it's that irreplaceable nature which has her and other performers worried. With the advent of artificial intelligence, the possibility that performers may no longer need to be directly involved in their own performances is one causing no small debate in Hollywood and beyond. So, I guess they're talking about her being replaced by AI. As a general idea, how do you feel, Ozzy, about AI being used in Star Wars, as we've seen with, I guess it was sort of AI with Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
There he is. But now they have the voice cloning and stuff, as we saw in Obi-Wan Kenobi. What is your general thought, and is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's good for some things and not so good for others. The voice thing that they did with Darth Vader and Kenobi, I think they did it really well, given that we're probably still going to see Darth Vader for quite a while.
I would assume so. It's probably safe.
And but deepfake, if they can do it right, it looks really good. But some of the scenes with Luke, especially in that Mandalorian stuff, didn't quite look great. It has improved definitely, though.
It has a ways to go. So apparently, Katie Sackhoff being replaced, I guess they're talking about AI, so we will continue in this article. For Sackhoff, physical recreation may be a little more difficult, but if the character was to appear in animation or with only her helmet on in future performances, it's possible her voice could be recreated by AI and used in lieu of her actual appearance, which does not come as a shock to me that they would use this technology for that purpose, because when you sign contracts, you're signing that likeness over. Katie Sackhoff doesn't own Bo Katan, or the voice for her, for that matter. So if they're able to use the voice of Bo Katan, which is her own voice, but they're going to say that's Bo Katan's voice, then that's Disney's property at that point. So it gets into a little bit of murky waters of who owns her voice. Is it her, or was she... Because obviously, if I put on an Australian accent and I do something, that's not me. That's me playing a character. And then if someone owns that character, I have no right to that. But if she's talking on a podcast as herself, does Disney say that's Bo Katan and try to claim that as herself? It's very murky waters. Katie herself says, if my family reaps the benefit of that, yeah, of course. I think we're into a really, really tricky place with AI. It's scary to me in some regard, and to others. For a fandom to continue to have new content after someone is gone is pretty amazing. So they are talking about artificial intelligence replacing her, which I think this is a pretty clickbaity title. Speaks out on being replaced. They make it sound so matter of fact. And it's absolutely not. That just goes to show you inside the magic is not to be trusted. They finish up, there doesn't seem to be much risk of Sackhoff being replaced anytime soon, though. Wait a minute. That was definitely a clickbait title.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them on a lot of different websites.
Those sneaky writers over at Inside the Magic, but this has been the news from the stars.
From the farthest corners of the galaxy and every channel in the holonet, we bring you news from the stars.
I forgot to turn on my music again.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So, Bo Katan becoming the ruler of Mandalore once again. Do you think she is the one to do it? And is that what we're going to see through the rest of the season?
Could go both ways. So that hardly answers the question at all, really. I think it's still going to have... I mean, depends on what we think overrides, Darksaber or the Mythosaur. I think Mythosaur definitely has the advantage there.
Yeah, and that might be what the armorer was getting at when she finally realized, okay, you have seen the Mythosaur. If you were to, maybe writing it's not even the goal, but just to having witnessed it. But I do think that you're correct. Darksaber would be overruled by Mythosaur, especially if she was able to actually write it. I think that would carry a lot of weight in reuniting the Mandalorian clans. It was a little weird when she just told her to take off her helmet with no explanation at all. It almost seemed like it should have been her choice to remove the helmet or not.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know what authority does the armorer have in the grand scheme of things. She's the leader of their group, but it almost seems like, I don't know, we're getting into some weeds. But I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? Is Bo Katan going to be the ruler of Mandalore? Yes or no?
I think. Sorry, you go if you wanted to talk.
No, go ahead.
All right. I think the biggest problem with the mythosaur is how is anyone going to believe that you saw it, and what good is it being on an abandoned planet like Mandalore? Like, it's a massive thing. Good luck transporting it somewhere.
Good point. That is a very good point. And so, yeah, in that sense, just saying I saw a mythosaur down in the mines, which probably a lot of people still think it's poisoned the entire planet, that wouldn't really be there wouldn't be much validity in just saying that. But writing it would carry a lot of weight. You're absolutely correct. How do we think Din Djarin plays into this? Is he even a someone in contention for ruling Mandalore, or is he just the one who happens to hold the Darksaber?
I think they might just be making up for him stealing Boba Fett's show. Someone's going to come and steal his now, you know? Just see how it goes. I don't know. Be interesting to see.
Samuel S. Hirsch. I don't believe I've seen you before, so if this is your first time, here's a sip for you. He says he has a bold prediction for the next episode. Luke Skywalker will have a role to play. Exactly how, he's not sure. That is quite a bold prediction. You are a bold one. But anything's on the table. This season hasn't really seemed very cohesive. And so Luke coming in, sure. We've seen Luke come out of nowhere in previous shows, like in The Bad Batch. Not even bad. Book of Boba Fett. There's so many shows now, I'm getting way too confused. It would be interesting how they tie it in. What does Luke Skywalker have to do with the Mandalorians? Unless he's talking about the larger deals with the Empire rebuilding and everything, which I thought actually was a really interesting dynamic in this episode, kind of going along with what we saw in the Coruscant episode, the glowing popsicle episode, in that the New Republic is not very competent, and they're falling into the same sort of traps that the Empire fell into, and in a sense becoming the Empire. So that part of it is really interesting. I want to see how we get to the point in the sequels, because we know we're getting there anyway. How do we get from, okay, the Empire's defeated, now we're the good guys taking over, to now we're not the ones in power because the First Order has taken over. And it seems like the whole, what is his name? Carson Teva? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Kind of him finding the rot and the cracks that are forming is an interesting, very interesting situation.
I think the really too much. I was about to say interesting again. There was another word. I'm just gonna have to. The really interesting thing about it is the New Republic's trying to do the opposite of the Empire. They've decommissioned all their fighters and all sorts of things, yet they're still falling into the same habits and traps.
Yes, and part of me does wonder if they're pacifying of their whole government and saying, you know, we're a peaceful people now. There's no reason for military and other than peacekeeping, and actually decommissioning all of that stuff, if that will allow an opening for the First Order in the future to come in and take over. So I know a lot of people like to shy away from the sequel trilogy because it's the worst thing Disney's ever done, and 7, 8, and 9 don't exist, and I get it. We just have to accept that it exists, and the shows that we're getting right now lead up to that. So if we can enjoy the ride along the way, that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. And that aspect of it, of how does the New Republic become corrupted in the same way that the Jedi Order was corrupted before the fall of the Republic. There could be some really cool parallels there as well. I think she will. That's why the Armorer sent her to bring all the clans to Mandalore. Yeah. And so we could get an amazing send-off to the end of the season, but again, with only 3 episodes left, where we're going is not exactly clear. First off, before we get into our next news segment, what did you think of Captain Moss Pirate Davy Jones, whatever his name was, Gillian Shard? I think it was.
Yeah, Gory and Shard, I think.
Gory
yeah.
and Shard, yeah.
It was sort of just you could tell he had no other choice with his career path. It's just had to be a pirate. But yeah,
Yep,
just
with a face
very
like
Pirates
that.
of the Caribbean style sort of thing.
Yes, even in the music, I did notice that. And I love Pirates of the Caribbean, the first and the third movies. But it did seem out of place. I didn't really care for his character all that much.
Yeah.
So, kind of took me out of the season as a whole. Well, it is time to get into our next news segment. Again, as I told you guys, breaking news, some leaked audio from 2019 that I think you guys are going to find very interesting. This is the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
So we have wondered for a while what George Lucas's involvement with current modern day Star Wars production is. Does he give advice on plot, on set design, on characters, on aliens? Does he even have any communication with any of the executives or producers at Lucasfilm? I know I've wondered that. Is there anything you've heard about him being invited onto sets other than a couple pictures we've seen? What do you think before we get into this? George
I can't
Lucas's
imagine
involvement
there'd be
is
much of it. Yeah. I think it's just
yeah.
Dave might ask him some questions every now and then, but I don't think he'd be very welcome over at Disney.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But this leaked audio that I have gotten a hold of is actually of a phone call between George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy. And this audio proves that he is not only involved, but he is the creator of one of the most popular characters in all of Star Wars, and definitely the most popular character to come out of the Disney era. So I present to you the leaked audio from 2019 between George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, George, this is Kathleen, the president of Lucasfilm.
Yeah, I know who you are.
Of course you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we all respect your vision for Star Wars so much. Your word is gospel. We were thinking of creating a new series, but we need ideas for a fresh new main character, something we've never seen before, and we wanted to know how you come up with great characters like R2 or maybe like Yoda.
Well, slow down. Let me think. Oh, man, where do I start? So, what you want to do, you got to think of something everyone likes, like an old man. So let's make him about 50 years old. That's just adorable. But here's the kicker. He's basically like a baby. Can't talk, can barely get around on his own. Oh, and give him green skin. And to give it some semblance of relevancy for Star Wars, make him like a bounty hunter, but he also has amazing force powers. Kind of like that Rey girl you came up with. No training, no backstory, just magic force powers for this green man baby. And make him throw up blue cookies on himself. That'll sell the toys. Do with that pile of bantha poodoo what you will.
I don't know what to say. Your genius is infectious, George. You're a mastermind. We're going to take that and run with it. I'll have my people get right on it.
Hello? Gosh darn, I never should have sold that thing.
100% true.
So it turns out that George Lucas actually was the one who created the character of Grogu. I mean, this is amazing. This is revolutionary. I don't know if he came up with a name, but now we have absolute definitive proof that he is intensely interwoven into the very fabric of the current Disney era. And thus we can assume everything that comes out of Disney from this point forward is from George Lucas himself. And that's the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
Ta-da.
There we go, yep. I don't know where you got a hold of that.
No, I paid some good money for someone to snoop out that phone conversation. It was not cheap. Where's my music? Keep forgetting to turn it on. So, where do we go from here for the rest of the season? Taking it all the way back to the Mandalorian. You have to keep a straight face, you know, it's that kind of thing. Yeah, I was laughing so hard when I was editing that. The AI that I used to recreate the voices, one of them I adjusted too far to the side where you can make it like variance in voice. And it sounds like George Lucas is like a paranoid schizophrenic or something. I put that in Discord if you guys want to check it out. It's wild. All right, back to Mandalorian. We got a couple minutes left here. Where do you think we're going in the rest of this season? Because, as I said earlier, the path of this season has not been very straight. I don't even know what to predict for the next few episodes. I know the general point is that we're going to reunite Mandalore. But I don't even know what to expect at this point.
After that final scene of the most recent episode when they revealed Moff Gideon had been taken by what we can assume as Mandalorians, that I think might lean into like the Imperial Super Commandos from Rebels. I think it was. Yeah, it was Rebels. And maybe they rescued him, or maybe they're trying to frame the Mandalorians. I don't think that one's true, but it could be a possibility. Because
is it possible that his Dark Troopers broke him out? Because they were made of. They were made of.
I don't think they were Beskar because Luke was sort of chopping them up pretty easily. Yeah,
You're right. Well, there goes that idea.
Yeah, I think maybe Bo Katan will go and while she's looking for different Mandalorians, might run into where Moff Gideon is. Just be kind of lazy writing, just managing to stumble across this hidden area, but might happen.
So it does seem like we have two very different stories that are going on, and I don't exactly see how they're connected. There's the Moff Gideon, New Republic, that whole sort of aspect of this story. But then we've also got the Mandalorians, and I don't really see how they're linked yet.
Oh, hold on. Dale just brought up a point there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
You are correct. I need to pay attention better.
Yeah, not living up to my name very well, am I?
No. I'm just a Sith Lord. What can I say?
Yeah, right. Well, it is possible then. I don't know.
Yeah. That was my initial thought, and I forgot that they weren't made out of Beskar, the Dark Troopers.
Still a quick Google search. What are Dark Troopers made out of? Oops.
It depends on if you're talking about current canon and Legends.
That's true, yeah. What is
and which generation as well?
It just says so. These ones here, coming from some random article that was the first one to pop up. So, oh no, Wikipedia. So very reliable source right there. Dark grey armor made of the nearly indestructible metal frick, PHRIK. That's all it says there.
So confirmation: Babu Frick is a Dark Trooper.
Yep, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, there's another AI video I can make. I spend too much time on those little 1-minute videos. That'll be up on its own a little bit later tonight. But yeah, as far as where we're going for the rest of the season, I really don't know. And as a final thought, I totally understand how people aren't completely hooked into this season. I myself am not really. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not loving it. It's no Andor.
Yeah.
At all. It's not even close. Andor had me hooked from the first 3 episodes that dropped. This one, I mean, we're coming up on the end, and I'm like, all right, I want to like it. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a fun time. But I'm kind of feeling like, what's the point?
Yeah, there's the thing taking me out of it the most. I think a couple of YouTube channels mentioned it. the population of Navarro in that last episode.
It was like 50 people.
Was that like this is meant to be the capital city of the planet, and it's like big trade planet. I know a few guys were left behind, like the one that got his ear pulled on by a pirate, but like, come on. And then Coruscant, there should have to be more than 1 trillion people on there, or whatever they said.
Yeah.
Because there was something like 1 trillion permanent residents. So the population issue is
just everything involving Navarro from the very first episode of this season was just off, a little weird. When we're sticking with the Mandalorians themselves and the lore and going to the mines of Mandalore and Bo Katan and the armor, everything with that has been great. It kind of seems like everything around it has been weird. So I'm still holding out hope that it's going to all tie together and it's going to be really solid in the end. But I totally understand why people aren't being completely sucked in. And a lot of people, it seems like the ones that aren't making content about this are kind of just going to wait until the rest of the season's out and then watch it at their own leisure, I guess. Which is kind of sad because we should be super involved in it. And all of you guys watching, you may have noticed a lack in content. I'm not as excited as I want to be, which is very sad. And again, going back to that argument of maybe I'm spoiled by Andor, I'm just not hyped, which is bad.
Yeah.
Vanishing Golem, good to see you. Sorry, we are wrapping up here for the night. Any final thoughts, Ozzy? And I'm going to put your channel down below one more time.
All right. Thank you. Not too much, really. Hopefully it picks up a bit more. I think main reason that with Star Wars people started waiting to binge watch the entire season, I think that came with Andor. Because I know people found that slow, and a lot of people sort of binge watched it afterwards, moved on, so maybe that's just continuing on. I don't think... You haven't seen Bad Batch yet, have you? Season 2?
I have not, no. I will go through and watch it, because we did really enjoy this season, their first season. So, I will go back and watch it, but I just...
It's definitely one that'd be much better to binge watch, because there's some slow episodes in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and as far as content for this season, I do, like I said, want to really start getting more videos out there. But again, we only have like 3 more episodes, so there's not a whole lot left. And then what even is the next project after The Mandalorian?
Ahsoka, it will be. Towards the end of the year. Or maybe Vision Season 2. I'm not too sure when that's coming out.
Well, we'll have somewhat of a drought. I'm just waiting. Being completely honest, I'm waiting for Andor Season 2.
Yeah, I've seen like... I mean, I've been posting a bit less after Andor and leading into Mando, but I've seen the views on my stuff during the Andor time is so much higher than Mandalorian.
Yep. Yeah, it seems like people aren't really as into it as far as like going on YouTube, watching videos and learning more about it, digging into the details. With Mandalorian, they're just kind of consuming the episode and waiting for next week. I mean, I feel that as well. I
know if we looked at someone like Star Wars Theory's watch parties, they'd be so much higher for Mandalorian. But that's just the title around it, Baby Yoda, and that's what everyone's obsessed with. Like, you get Star Wars gifts, it's Baby Yoda, he's a Star Wars fan, give him Baby Yoda stuff.
Yep, I agree. Okay, sorry you came in at the last minute. We are wrapping it up. Everyone, make sure to go ahead and click that link to Aussie Star Wars Nerd's channel. Give him your subscription because he would appreciate it. I would greatly appreciate it as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that leaked phone call. And yeah, that'll be uploaded on its own. So you guys can watch that again. But thank you very much for watching. If you've been here from the very beginning of the show tonight, I really appreciate your time. May the stash be with you. And I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.